Why small steps matter more than you think. Have you ever felt like you're not making progress? Like you're working hard, but nothing seems to change? Maybe you want to learn a new language, get healthier, or start a creative project. You begin with excitement. You feel motivated. But after a few days or weeks, you look at how far you still have to go, and you feel tired. You feel small. You wonder if it's even worth trying. I want to talk to you today about something simple but powerful. It's about small steps, not giant leaps, not overnight success, just small, quiet steps that don't look like much at first. But here's the thing, these tiny actions matter more than most of us realize. They're not just helpful, they're actually the secret to real, lasting change. Let me tell you a story. A few years ago, I met a woman named Sarah. She was in her early 40s, and she told me she hadn't exercised in over 10 years. She felt out of shape. She felt embarrassed. Every time she thought about going to the gym, she imagined fit people running on treadmills, lifting heavy weights, doing things she couldn't do. It made her feel worse. So she did nothing. One day, she decided to try something different. Instead of planning a big workout routine, she made a deal with herself. She would walk for just 5 minutes every morning. That's it? 5 minutes. Not 30, not an hour. Just 5. At first, she felt silly. 5 minutes didn't seem like enough to make a difference. But she did it anyway. She walked around her block. Some mornings, she didn't feel like it, but she reminded herself, it's only 5 minutes. And so, she went. After 2 weeks, something unexpected happened. She didn't feel tired after her walk. She felt awake. She felt good. So she added 2 more minutes. Then, a few weeks later, she added 5 more. Within 3 months, Sarah was walking 30 minutes every day. She wasn't trying to be perfect. She wasn't following some strict plan. She just kept taking the next small step. By the end of the year, she had lost weight, yes, but more importantly, she felt strong. She felt proud. And it all started with 5 minutes. This is what small steps do. They don't just move you forward. They change the way you see yourself. When you take a small step, you prove something to yourself. You prove that you can show up. You prove that you're the kind of person who follows through. And that belief, that quiet confidence, becomes the foundation for everything else. Think about learning a language. If you try to study for 2 hours every day, you might do it for a week, maybe two, but then life gets busy. You miss a day. Then another. You feel guilty. You feel like you failed. So you stop. But what if you studied for just 10 minutes a day? 10 minutes is easy. You can do it on the bus. You can do it before bed. You can do it even on your worst days. And here's the magic. 10 minutes every day for a year is over 60 hours of practice. That's more than most people do in a lifetime. Small steps add up. They compound. They grow quietly, like a seed under the soil. You don't see the progress at first, but it's happening. There's a reason why small steps work so well. It has to do with how our brains are wired. Big changes feel threatening. They require a lot of energy, a lot of willpower. When you set a huge goal, Your brain sees it as stress. It resists. It looks for reasons to quit. But small steps, they're gentle. They don't trigger that resistance. Your brain doesn't see a 5-minute walk as a threat. It's easy, it's safe, so you do it. And each time you do it, you build a little bit of momentum. You create a habit. And habits, once they're formed, don't require willpower anymore. They become automatic. They become part of who you are. This is why people who make small, consistent changes often succeed where others fail. They're not more disciplined, they're not stronger, they're just working with their brain, not against it. Let me share another example. I once read about a man who wanted to write a book. He had dreamed about it for years. He had ideas, characters, scenes in his mind, but every time he sat down to write, he felt overwhelmed. A book is long, it's complicated. He didn't know where to start. So he would stare at the blank page, feel anxious, and then walk away. This went on for years. Finally, he changed his approach. He decided to write just one sentence a day, not a page, not a chapter, just one sentence. Some days, his sentence was simple. The sky was gray. Other days, he wrote something longer. But the rule was, at least one sentence. No pressure, no judgment, just one. At first, it felt too easy. He thought, how will I ever finish a book if I only write one sentence? But he kept going. And something interesting happened. On most days, after he wrote his first sentence, he wanted to write more. So he did. But even on the days when he only wrote one sentence, he felt good. He had kept his promise. He had shown up. After a year, he had written over 300 pages. He had finished his book. Not because he forced himself to write for hours every day, but because he made it so easy that he couldn't say no. This is a key insight. Small steps remove the barrier to starting. Starting is often the hardest part. We overthink. We wait for the perfect moment, the perfect mood, the perfect plan. But perfection never comes. Small steps teach you that you don't need to feel ready. You don't need to feel inspired. You just need to take the next step. And once you start, it's easier to keep going. It's like pushing a car. The first push is the hardest. But once it's moving, even a little, it takes less effort to keep it rolling. Small steps get you moving, and movement creates its own energy. Now, I want to be honest with you. Small steps are not glamorous. They don't make for exciting stories. If you tell someone, I walked for 5 minutes today, they might not be impressed. We live in a world that celebrates big, dramatic transformations. We see before and after photos. We hear about people who changed their lives in 30 days. We watch videos of overnight success. And so we think that's what change should look like. Fast, big, dramatic. But that's not real. Real change is slow. It's quiet. It happens in moments that no one else sees. It happens when you choose to show up, even when you don't feel like it. When you take one more step, even when it seems too small to matter. The truth is, most of the great things in life are built this way. Relationships, skills, health, confidence. They're not built in a single moment of inspiration. They're built through hundreds, thousands of small, unglamorous actions repeated over time. There's a Japanese concept called kaizen. It means continuous improvement. The idea is that you don't try to change everything at once. You focus on making things just 1% better. 1% doesn't sound like much, but if you improve by 1% every day, you're not just 1% better after 100 days. You're nearly 3 times better. That's the power of compounding. Small improvements multiply. They build on each other. Over time, they create results that seem almost impossible. But they start with something tiny, something anyone can do. Let me give you a personal example. I wanted to improve my writing. I knew I needed to practice more. But I was busy. I had work, family, responsibilities. I couldn't spend hours writing every day, so I started small. I wrote 1 paragraph each morning, just one. I set a timer for 10 minutes, and I wrote. Some mornings, my paragraph was messy. Some mornings, I didn't like what I wrote. But I did it anyway. After a few months, I noticed something. My writing got faster. My ideas came more easily. I didn't have to think as hard about what to say. I was getting better, not because I had some special talent, but because I had practiced a little bit every single day. It wasn't dramatic, but it was real. And it changed the way I saw myself. I started to think of myself as a writer, not because I had published a bestseller, but because I showed up and wrote, day after day. This is another gift that small steps give you. They change your identity. When you take small steps consistently, you start to see yourself differently. If you write every day, even just a little, you become a writer. If you exercise every day, even just a little, you become someone who takes care of their health. If you practice a language every day, you become a language learner. Your actions shape your identity, and your identity shapes your future actions. It's a positive cycle. The more you act like the person you want to become, the more you believe you are that person. And the more you believe it, the easier it becomes to keep going. Of course, there will be hard days. Days when you don't want to take even a small step. Days when you feel stuck, when progress feels invisible. That's normal. That's part of the process. On those days, I want you to remember something. You don't have to feel motivated to take a small step. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. But small steps don't require motivation. They just require a decision. You decide to do the thing even if you don't feel like it. And once you do, you'll often find that the motivation comes after you start, not before. Action creates momentum. Momentum creates motivation, not the other way around. I also want to talk about patience. Small steps require patience. In our fast-paced world, patience is hard. We want results now. We want to see progress immediately. But meaningful change doesn't work that way. Think about a tree. When you plant a seed, you don't see a tree the next day. You don't even see a sprout for weeks. But underground, something is happening. Roots are growing. The seed is transforming. And then, one day, a tiny shoot breaks through the soil. It's small, fragile, but it's alive. And if you keep watering it, if you keep giving it light, that tiny shoot will become a tree. Strong, tall, able to provide shade and fruit for years. Your small steps are like that seed. You might not see the results today, you might not see them next week, but they're working. They're building something beneath the surface. And if you trust the process, if you keep going, you will see the tree. Here's something else I've learned. Small steps are forgiving. When you set huge goals, there's no room for mistakes. If you miss a day, you feel like you've ruined everything. But with small steps, it's different. If you miss a day, it's okay. You just take the step the next day. There's no guilt, no pressure. You're not trying to be perfect. You're just trying to move forward, one small step at a time. This makes the journey sustainable. You can keep going for months, years, even a lifetime. Because it's not about being perfect, it's about being consistent. Let me tell you one more story before I finish. There was a student I taught years ago. His name was David. He wanted to improve his English. He felt frustrated because he had studied for years, but he still struggled to speak. He understood grammar. He knew a lot of words. But when he tried to speak, he froze. He was afraid of making mistakes. He was afraid people would judge him, so he stayed silent. One day, I gave him a challenge. I told him to speak English for just 2 minutes every day. He could talk to himself, to his mirror, to his pet. It didn't matter. Just 2 minutes of speaking out loud. At first, he thought it was silly, but he tried it. He talked about his day, his thoughts, simple things, and slowly something changed. His fear began to shrink. Speaking didn't feel as scary. He made mistakes, sure, but he realized that mistakes were okay. They were part of learning. After a few months, he started speaking more in class. He joined conversations. He even made jokes. His English wasn't perfect, but it didn't need to be. He was communicating. He was connecting with people. And it all started with 2 minutes a day. So, here's what I want you to take away from this. If there's something you want to do, something you want to change, don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait until you have more time, more energy, more confidence. Just take one small step today. Maybe it's 5 minutes. Maybe it's one sentence. Maybe it's one word. It doesn't matter how small it is. What matters is that you start. And then tomorrow, take another small step. And the day after that, another. You don't need to see the whole path. You don't need to know how it will all work out. You just need to take the next step. Trust that small steps add up. Trust that they matter, because they do. More than you think. More than you can imagine right now. Every small step is a victory. Every small step is proof that you're moving forward. And one day, you'll look back and realize how far you've come. Not because you made one giant leap, but because you took 1,000 small steps. And that, my friend, is how real change happens, quietly, gently, one small step at a time.